What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Sunbelt Syndicate, helping you get ready for this Sunbelt basketball final night, I guess, really. With you, as always, Dominic Crusetto, Zach Caps, with you from the first kick to the last pitch, but we are about to have the last tip-off, for the regular season, that is, Zach. So this one's going to be talked about quite a bit and very confusing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a few weeks since we've been here, and it's only got crazier. Seven teams fighting for the championship, which is crazy. And then the fact that if it is a seven-way tie, all seven teams get to claim that they won the regular season title.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because what are your thoughts on that? I think we had it happen last year, and I understand wanting to give everybody their flowers for, a good regular season, but you have to have a number one seed. And if you're going to award a number one seed with tiebreakers, why not just call that person the sole regular season winner?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably how they should do it. But at the same, like you'll see in a little bit, the tiebreakers are just so weird that it's not just straight up, just head to head or whatever, especially if it's more than a two-way tie. So that can definitely confuse it and make everything weird and probably controversial.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Definitely could do that. So let's bring that into it now. As the saying goes, February going out like a lion. So this Sunbelt Conference is definitely going out like that. Someone asked on Twitter the other day if it was good. I think someone asked Kara Ritchie, who does a lot of the Arkansas State stuff, whether this was a good thing, that there was so much going on in this conference at the end with the teams the way they are. And she said no, because all the teams, as battle tested as they are within this conference, no one's claiming that top spot easily, which makes our seed for the NCAA tournament going to be very low. I think a lot of the ones, and Zach, you can correct me because you've probably seen more than I have, prediction-wise, have the Sun Belt as a 16 seed, looking from the outside in right now, right?
Yeah, outside of, I think Troy's analytics and net and numbers are pretty good, even though the record's not the best. So I think a lot of, if they have Troy in, they usually have them as a 14. But if it's not going to be Troy, if it's anyone else, it's probably going to be a 15 or a 16.
What about South Alabama with a 21-9 record? I mean, they've got the best overall record.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw them, the last time I saw them in a mock bracket, it was at a 15.
Okay.
So it's going to be a 15 or a 16 most likely, unless it's Troy.
Gotcha.
Which they'll probably be a 14 or a 15.
That makes sense. That makes sense with the consistency of them having been there last year as well. Maybe, just seeing the name, some people are going to think that they deserve to be just a tad higher than somebody else coming out of the conference. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. But let's take a look at how the bracket looks. If you look towards the standings at this very moment, this is before Friday's games. If you are to pull up the standings, this is kind of what we're looking at. You've got Marshall at the top, App State following close behind, Troy, South Alabama, Arkansas State, Coastal Carolina kind of wraps up your top six. Then you get into Texas State, James Madison, Southern Miss, the Cajuns, followed by Georgia State, ODU. Followed by Georgia Southern, then Georgia State, because I got to go from the bottom to the top here, and then ODU, and we know ULM. Really, ULM's the only one we know for a fact is going to be in the spot they're in right now, right, Zach?
Yeah, there's no way they can improve. Yeah, and then everyone else, it's most likely going to change.
Yeah. Very, very likely to change. But if you are to pull up the standings, this is kind of the bracket you'd be looking at. So that is what some people are going to be comparing and seeing how much it transitions. But again, with everything that could happen, all the tiebreakers, it could get crazy. So this is where we currently stand at this time with the standings. You've got 4 teams with 11 wins, 3 more teams right behind them that could get to 11 wins, and that's where the chaos everyone's looking at and focusing on is happening and could transpire. Again, all games on Friday. So we will have an answer by, let's see, that last game. Yeah, that last game still matters because you've got Georgia Southern going up against Marshall. So that one will still matter for the top seeds. That game starts at 9 Eastern. It is 9 Eastern, 8 Central time. So it'll be a little bit later in the evening for everyone to have this completely finalized and figured out. But Marshall, again, sitting at the top as of right now. And I don't know. Anything more to say on just the standings? I mean, do you foresee a lot of movement in the middle outside of the top 7, Zach?
I mean, I think we'll look at it in a little bit, but if it's how we predicted it, then no. But the top 7 will be chaos.
Yes, it is going to be chaos. Hopefully it's a fun chaos, but it's something that, like you said, I think I have this next. Yes, so the tiebreaker. Sunbelt has these on their website if you want to check these and read these for yourself. If it's just 2 teams, if somehow just 2 teams end up 12-6, well, more than 2 teams would definitely end up 11-7 at the very least. But if only 2 teams end up at the 12-6 mark, very easy to decipher. It's head-to-head matchup. And if they didn't play each other for whatever reason, you use that win percentage or win-loss percentage, as the Sunbelt phrases it, against whoever is the best team in the conference, which I guess doesn't help you when it's the top teams you're looking for. But then you would go down to whoever's 2 or 3 or 4 to get to the point where you've played both teams and what the best record is between the 2 of them. If it's 3 teams or more, you've got the highest winning percentage against the teams that have played each other. But there's another wrench in the thing because, Zach, what if these teams haven't all played each other, right? Like then you get into like coin flips and rock, paper, scissors. It's literally listed. Rock, paper, scissors is actually listed in the tiebreaker rules.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Don't read it. But
well, this came to mind. I'm not gonna say it completely, but after one of the press conferences with Coach Gray, he kind of stood around and talked to the people that were in there, and let's just say he does not like how the tiebreakers are worked.
I don't blame him because I think kind of like football. Football, for some reasons, does it good. ACC screwed it up. We already know that, right? And thankfully they did that because that allowed James Madison to enter into the CFP. But the Sun Belt actually has it pretty smart for one tiebreaker that they do have in football, which is the host team for football will be who's ever ranked highest in the CFP rankings, or whatever ranking system that exists that the Sun Belt team may be ranked in. So, that would have been James Madison this year. So if Troy and James Madison somehow would have had the same record going into the championship game, James Madison would have hosted clearly because they were considered higher in the polls. I think they should do the same thing with basketball. I guess the problem with that is, and Zach, maybe you know of a poll that does more than this, but the problem would be that the likelihood a Sun Belt team is ranked within the top 25 of the basketball poll is slim. So you'd have to go to some polling aspect that would include, mid-major basketball or some other ranking system where you could say, maybe use KenPom, maybe you use, I don't know.
The net. I mean, that's what they use for the get in the tournament, I feel like.
Yeah, that could make sense. So that would simplify it a little bit, right? Like, hey, we want to send our best team, and if someone's going to look at how all these things played out throughout the season, they're going to see that this is our highest team.
Or just or just do it like the Big Ten does it, and you play. I think they play every team in their conference once, and then they play like their 3 biggest rivals twice.
I like that.
Or like whatever, or maybe if to get to 18 in the Sun Belt, you'd have to play like 5 teams twice or whatever. But you play every team once, and then you play a select few twice.
I like that, and I like that because NHL
and then you
fans,
have the clear tiebreaker of head to head.
you do. You have the clear tiebreaker of head to head, and here's an aspect, and it's probably a bigger aspect in Big Ten than it is in the Sun Belt. But when you have a big time player on a team, your team may not play that team that year, right? Same thing could be happening in the Sun Belt. What if we have a guy like a Steph Curry come along or something that's on one of our teams, and everyone goes, man, I wish our team played them this year. Well, now you have that solved because, like you said, Zach, everybody plays each other at least once. Maybe you don't get it at home, but at least you have the ability to go on the road and see your team play that specific team or that player. I think for multiple reasons, that would be something I'd be in favor of moving forward, especially because sometimes you just don't see some of these teams for a multitude of years, and it feels weird, maybe a little bit of a disconnect. The whole thing with the Sun Belt that we talk about in every sport is the rivalries that we build up and how much teams and fan bases kind of hate each other in a fun way. But in basketball, if you don't play each other for like 3 years, kind of dies down a little bit. So I would like to see that changed and going forward. This is going to be specifically talking about our top seeds. And again, this is kind of how they currently lay out when you look at the standings as they are now. I'm not sure, Zach, are you clear on if like ESPN has these ordered in any type of tiebreaker fashion, or is it literally just
let me pull it up real quick.
Making it up who's on top, right? I mean,
no, I don't.
The one that
I remember last year they didn't have it tiebreaker.
That's true. Okay. Because I remember that too when we were going through all this. I will say this. Marshall does have the tiebreaker over App State. They have beaten App State twice. So the fact that App and Marshall are at the top of this with Marshall on top does make sense.
ESPN does have it ranked the same way that you have it ranked on here.
Okay.
So maybe this year they did update it. I don't know.
Well, I might have used theirs if I'm thinking about it right. But I don't know. The Sun Belt may have it. I've been saying before, and again, they could have changed their ways, but at one point in time, the Sun Belt was not considering tiebreakers when they were doing the standings. So I was trying to do that on our side of things because they were not doing it. And I was going ahead and trying to figure them out. Now, I wasn't getting into like 4 and 5 team tiebreakers. I was pretty much going head to head where I could, where it made sense. And that was helping me. This one's a little bit out there, right? We literally have 7 teams. That's half the conference that could go from 1st to 7th. It's just crazy. But we're going to talk about some of these teams and who they're facing in order to get that way. So Friday night, 7 o'clock, 6 Central tip, ULM in Troy. I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about here, Zach. I think this one's a kind of a rather easy one to predict. Or do you think there's some crazy upset here?
I mean, I guess Troy could be like playing down to their opponent or whatever, but no, this shouldn't be one of the games that people should want to be tuned into compared to some of the other ones.
Yeah, and Troy's at home on this one. They haven't been quite as good as at home as they have in the past. Just 9 and 3, which is still great. Just not as good as Troy's been some other years. But ULM has won 1 game on the road all season. That's not just conference. That's in general. They've won 1 road game all season. So I would definitely favor the Trojans. That this would get Scott Cross yet another 20-win season under his belt, right? So they're going to want it for that reason. Probably a smaller reason. They care more about the number 1 seed going into the tournament. But I don't expect the Trojans to struggle too much in this one. And I don't know off the top of my head, I feel like they would have probably played ULM at least once so far.
They did, and they won on like a game winner with like a second left or 2 seconds left.
Oh, so maybe, yeah, you're right. They won 77-76, so 1 point. Now, that was, again, on the road at ULM. This one at Troy, where ULM typically doesn't play as well, at least this season, on the road. So it'll be interesting, but maybe this is one people should have their eye on a little bit further. Was that I think that was during Troy's like little downturn where they had a couple losses in a row, though, right?
Yeah, that was like a few weeks ago, I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, but again, the pedigree of what the Troy Trojans bring to the hardwood has me believing that when the time comes and you must win the game, there's a reason they made it into the tournament last year, not a conference tournament, the NCAA tournament, because they could play big and play in big games. We haven't seen that out of ULM. We have to be honest with ourselves and with that team. We just haven't seen it. Troy has shown that they can do that, and I think they've got the pedigree to get it done and end up at 12-6 overall there. Zach, this one, you said you had a different look on this one than I did. I thought Georgia State could beat ODU on the Friday night 7:30, 6:30 Central matchup. So give us some little preview or game notes of what you're thinking might happen in this one.
Yeah, Georgia, I mean, I'm going to take Old Dominion just because Georgia State has just not been playing well lately. Like, they've been playing bad. And then Old Dominion, they were my pick at the preseason, which obviously didn't go well, but I just think they have so much talent that I'm still have a tiny bit of belief in them.
I mean, yeah, this is not like a clear cut you or I are right or wrong. I think this one is a coin toss for all the noted reasons you said, plus the fact that neither team is hot. Both teams come into this game having lost their last two straight. So it's not like one team's hot and one team's not. They are separated by one game within the standings, though. So this one will impact those bottom teams. A lot of other stuff isn't going to move those teams too much, but this ODU Georgia State could flip. Zach, we'll talk about that more specifically when we get the bracket back up, but this one could be pretty interesting for those bottom teams and trying to avoid, playing earlier and trying to get the later buys and all that kind of stuff. Also, just to note, every game on Friday is on ESPN Plus, except for the last one, that Georgia Southern Marshall game will finish the night on, I believe, ESPN 2. So we'll be taking a look at that one. All right. I've got my App State gear on, obviously, hoping for the boys to bring it home to Boone, but they have a tough go of it on the road Friday night at Texas State to try and take their shot at the 12-6 record. I got to be honest with myself and what I've seen from App State so far this year. I won't be playing the homer role. Texas State is 15-1 at home this year. App State not great on the road, just 7-6, so just barely over 500. I'm guessing. I don't know, Zach. Do you think a rowdy crowd down there in San Marcos, or do you think that it's been a little bit down or lesser than this year, and maybe not a too raucous of a crowd for them?
Well, I mean, I would hope it's a good crowd. I mean, it's two of the top teams in the conference playing for a potential share of the regular season championship.
Yeah, and that you see it on screen is 11-6 for App State, 10-7 for Texas State. So if Texas State were to win this game, both teams would have the same record there. And then again, if we get a bunch of teams with an 11-7 record, we got all kinds of craziness that could incur. I'll be cheering for my team, but again, as a realist, looking at the pedigree of what has happened throughout the season, I'm going to lean on Texas State to get it done at home since they play so strongly there. All right, Zach, I'm not even going to say much about this one because this is your team, your expertise bringing in here with Coastal going up against JMU Friday night at 8-7 Central.
Yeah, Coastal coming off a win against Georgia State and going to James Madison, who they lost to last week by 2 at home. Beadle missed 2 free throws with under a second left. So they're going to look to try to get revenge once again. And yeah, I mean, I think Coastal, if you look, Coastal's played the most games decided by 6 or less in the country, and it's not even particularly close. If you just go look at their schedule and just start scrolling through their schedule, it's really just nothing but like one possession games. So I would expect this one to be another close game.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any closer than what was it? It was UMass, right, for the MAC challenge.
Yeah.
That game was insane. I know you were there to take that one in, so that's awesome. I guess, if you're going to get into another close game, I'm thinking a team like Coastal's a great one to do it because of their pedigree. Again, I keep saying that word, but if they can win those close ones, and there's some that they didn't win that you said were close too, right? Didn't you say there was like 5 or 6 games probably they could have really turned?
There's still a bunch of games that are decided by 6 or less that they've lost, but for the most part, they have won a lot of those games. And last year, I remember during a game they put on a graphic like games decided by 7 or less. Last year they were like 4-11 in those games, and this year it's a lot better.
Nice. Very nice. Now, to note, JMU just took down App State a couple weeks ago too. And that one was at JMU where they seem to play pretty well. Let me see, they're 11-3 at home. So yeah, they do play pretty well there in Harrisonburg, Virginia. We'll see if that crowd is raucous and ready for that one as well. But like you said, Coastal definitely turned a corner this year and played a little bit better in those close games. All right, same time frame. We've got Southern Miss traveling to Mobile, Alabama to take on the Jags. This is an immensely important game for the Jaguars because they are fighting to once again be one of those top seeds. And they are 10-3 at home, while Southern Miss is just 3-11 on the road. But we've got another scoring title that could be up for grabs within this game, especially for the regular season anyway, right, Zach?
Yeah, the 2 leading scorers for these teams are tied in the points per game battle with the last game of the year.
Crazy. Chase, it's pronounced Chase, right?
Yeah.
Chase Harris and Tyleek Weeks. So that one is must watch just because those two guys are tremendous players within this conference. Again, I don't think Southern Miss is really battling too much for a seeding position. I mean, they definitely can move a little bit. I just don't think they can jump or lose too much ground. But again, the Jags really need to win this one to have any shot at a regular season title. So definitely one to check out there as well. The Cajuns, obviously completing a down year, go on the road to Jonesboro, Arkansas to play the Red Wolves, and another game just like the last one we discussed. The Red Wolves need this one for the possibility of the top seed or a top seed at the very least. The Cajuns will just want to win this game in general, right, Zach?
Yep. Louisiana has played better in conference than they did out of conference. So they have looked a little better. But Arkansas State, coming off that crazy win against Southern Miss, that game was just wild. Went on for like ever because there were just so many fouls.
Yeah.
It was like 3 hours long, I feel like. But and then they also have a really good crowd. So, and then like you said, Arkansas State, a lot more to play for. Hopefully getting a chance at a conference championship.
Yeah, I think if I had to put smart money on somebody, it'd be the Red Wolves to win at home where they play really well. Yet again, another 10-win team at home. UL, not even 4 victories on the road this year. So tough grind there for some of these last matchups. All right, so the nightcap, which again I said is on ESPN2, is marked as ESPN Plus here, but it is ESPN2 game. So national television for Georgia Southern traveling up to Marshall. And again, Marshall, just like the last 2 games again, Georgia Southern battling for less, but a little position battle possible. Marshall trying to get that number 1 seed. I greatly favor the Herd in this one at home. Do we know the health of Van Komen at this point? I know he was out since the Miami game, which actually really hindered them in that one, I think.
Yeah, he's been out for a while. At the Coastal game last week, he warmed up and was in he was in fully dressed, went through warm up. So I thought he was going to play, and then he just never came in. And then I guess Tuesday, or they played. I think they played Tuesday. He was on the bench in a boot and crutches. So
Ooh.
it doesn't look like too good for him.
No, I would say not. So that is interesting and a good little note to make there. But even without him, I still favor the Herd to win this game over Georgia Southern. But Georgia Southern's got some guys, Spud Webb there, who could make some noise. So we'll see what transpires on that regard. So with all those games going the way that we've spoken about, here is what we think will play out in the order that they will be in. So we think Troy, Marshall, and South Alabama will all get victories Friday night and end with 12-6 records. Zach, take it from there with the teams all tied at 11-7 and why they're split the way they are.
Yeah, so it'd be Texas State at 4, Coastal at 5, App at 6, and Arkansas State at 7. Obviously, that would mean Texas State would beat App, and then Coastal would obviously go on the road to beat JMU. But then it's then it gets confusing because then it's winning percentage against the top seeds, I believe.
Yeah.
And then is it winning percentage against the teams they're tied with?
I think it's the winning percentage. If they've all played, if Texas State, Coastal, App, and Arkansas State, all 11-7, all played each other, they can use the head-to-head percentage.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Then they would go to the head-to-head percentage versus Troy.
Yeah.
If everyone's played Troy. But again, if even one of the 4 teams has not played Troy, they cannot use that metric. They can't use it for 3 teams and leave a team out and then try and include them some other way. So again, they have to keep going down these tiebreakers, and exactly why Gray hates this, because it gets stupid, honestly, is really a word I want to use. Like, you got to find something closer to the top that kind of equalizes some type of measuring stick for this, and simplifies it for fans too. I mean, we want to kind of understand what's going on a little bit better than, they'll figure it out and we'll hear, maybe the next morning. Because I'm pretty sure at one point, like after the regular season was over last year, we still didn't really know who they were going to call champion.
Yeah, and then they just decided to get to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And what was it? Was it 3 teams last year?
4.
Was it 4? Jeez.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's confusing because Coastal beat Texas State, but then Coastal also lost to Arkansas State, but somehow they're ahead of Arkansas State and below Texas State.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Did Coastal split with App?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They split with App.
Yeah.
Lost to Arkansas State and beat Texas State. And somehow it's ordered like that if it were to play out like this.
Yeah. That's why it's like, well, what metric are they going to? We don't even know. And that's not being told when we try and figure these things out, because we're using a system instead of doing it by hand. Because it's really confusing. So we're just hoping that the system is right. But I mean, we do predict that these teams will end with these records. That's our prediction for sure. Do we nail the prediction to what exactly the Sunbelt will come up with? We think we have it there. We think. But again, technically, we don't really know.
No.
So keep your eyes peeled. But this is our prediction as we look at it right now. So that would give your bracket a look like this. However, with me thinking Georgia State will beat ODU, Zach was taking ODU over Georgia State. That would move a little bit of at this bottom portion that I've got laid out here, because ODU would then jump all the way over Georgia Southern, you said, or would they get all the way up to 9?
No, if ODU wins, this is the bracket. If Georgia State wins, Georgia State goes to 9.
Okay, that's what it is.
And then everyone, and then Southern Miss, Louisiana, Georgia Southern all move down 1.
All move down 1. Okay. Very interesting. The rest, again, we just kind of talked about the top of the bracket, so this is just laying it out in this kind of bracket form. And I'm sorry it's not the actual, like, it starts huge and gets really teeny tiny. I wanted to do it so that people could see it on screen, so it does kind of go down and then back up and then back down again, just so that I could fit all the graphics in there to be seen a little bit easier than what you would see in some of the online stuff that's being posted about the what everyone calls the Mortal Kombat style tournament. There's a couple other conferences that run all 14 teams, though. I think the A10, all 14 teams get in. The CAA, I think there's only 13 teams in that conference, but they all also make it in. So Sunbelt, not the only conference that's going to let everybody in and get a chance at it. I think it's just, is there anybody else that does it like us, Zach, that you know of?
That does this type of bracket. I know the WCC does it with Gonzaga and St. Mary's, but I feel like that's a little different because like Gonzaga and like St. Mary's and Santa Clara, those three teams are always like the 1 and the 2 every year. Yeah. So like it does benefit them because they do get the rest and they're just so much better than everyone else that they're just going to automatically go to the championship anyway. Here, it kind of sucks just because like you have like Troy and Marshall who are going to have to wait that long, but they're not like overly better than a few teams that are behind them, and they're going to, you know, get some run in and not be ice cold.
Okay, so we'll talk about that now and keep the bracket up because I want to keep that in mind for people that are looking at it. That's a great point you just made. These teams are separated by literal coin flips, maybe when it comes down to it, or rock, paper, scissors, as it says in the Sunbelt rulebook. Do you think that there's any coaches out there in this league at this moment that are like, I mean, if we win, we win, but I'm actually fine with losing too because, like you said, it gives you maybe a tune-up game or two before like you're one and done. Like you said, Troy and Marshall, if this is the bracket as it plays out, are 1 and 2. They get like teams that may have won 2 or 3 games in a row.
They get literally, they wouldn't play till next Sunday. They get like 9 days off.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
we've seen how that works in college football.
I mean, we saw how it worked last year too. Like, the championship game last year was the 3 and the 4 seed.
True.
So, I mean, I think if you ask any coach, honestly, they want the highest seed possible because they want the rest. But I feel like the sweet spot, is probably like that 3 and the 4, like that, where you still get a game in before you play the 1 and the 2.
Yeah. Any thought that this year it could be the 5 and 6 could even be a nice spot to land because, like you said, the difference between these teams is so minimal that you start to get into a rhythm by the time you play the 1 and 2. Like, look out.
Yeah, it's also just tough just because it's like a physical league. So, I mean, beating and banging for an extra few days does suck a little bit, especially if you're kind of down there towards the end of the bracket. But I mean, that's why they made the bracket like this, to try to prioritize the regular season.
True. That's a good point. I'm wondering too, if Marshall gets that number 1 seed or even the 2 and is off that is 9 days, like you said, like, does that give Van Komen enough time to kind of rebound and get back to playing? Probably not, right? Like, I mean, if you're talking about him being on crutches and in a boot, I don't know if that's enough time. But possibly, I don't know. We don't know the extent of the injury, so it would be interesting if they, regain a 7-footer before the semifinal, because I guess that puts them in the semifinal immediately. They just got to figure out who they're playing. We win 1 game, and they're in the championship. So also just the standings being this tight also kind of sucks for the Sunbelt a little bit, because I think, like you said, I think it was Kara Ritchie, you said like, now we're going to get like a 15 or a 16 just because we beat up on each other so much, which kind of sucks, because I do think no matter who comes out of the out of the bracket, and no matter who makes March Madness, I do think they're like
if you would have gave them like a 12 or a 13 or even a 14 like we have the last few years, I still think our teams are good enough to make those upsets.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's just going to suck because we've beat up on each other so much. We're at the point where we're going to have to play like a Michigan or Duke and probably just get run out the gym.
Yeah, I saw that. At least one person at some point had App State versus Michigan. Okay, yeah, the football thing. I also saw App State versus Duke in Greenville, South Carolina, which
that's what I'm hoping. If whoever comes out of the Sunbelt, obviously personally Coastal, but whoever comes out of Sunbelt, I hope they play in Greenville because maybe then I could try to make the trip up there.
Yeah, we would definitely both try. If Coastal makes it, it doesn't matter.
If Coastal makes it. If Coastal makes it, I don't care where they're at. I'm probably going.
Yeah, I would definitely. Greenville's close enough. I would be there too. I don't. And again, I'm the same way as you to some extent. Like I don't care who it is. If it's anybody in the Sunbelt in Greenville, that's a close enough drive. Probably a reasonable enough ticket because it's an early round game.
Yeah.
To get to and really take that in. I have been to the tournament here in Raleigh a few times, but I never get to see any of the teams I actually care for or like. I do see some good games. I got to see UConn play last year. I got to see Florida play last year in Raleigh, obviously before they got to towards the end there a little bit more. But yeah, I would take in some high level college basketball and March Madness once again. That'd be pretty cool. And if it's pushing a Sunbelt team, all the better. We did have one interesting thing that we kind of talked about already, but I want to give credit to the man who posted about it, Craig Stevenson. The subplot for South Alabama versus Southern Miss on Friday is USC's Chase Harris versus USM's Tyleik Weeks, who are tied for the Sunbelt scoring lead at 18.8 points per game. Harris has scored 18 more points, but has also played one more game, and also the postseason count. So it's not truly over, but the regular season aspect of it obviously would be over. So we'll see how that transpires. But Zach, you had a little note on somebody who probably isn't going to be in the running for a player of the year type thing, but could be a person involved in a scoring title as well, right?
Yeah, Christian Lewis for ULM is 0.4 points behind both of these guys. So if these guys kind of have down days and he goes off for like 30, maybe he'll take it home.
And if he does go off a little bit, again, they are playing the Troy Trojans, who they lost to by only 1 point last time. That could throw a wrench into this whole thing, because I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this from the outside, sports bettors, people just looking at the standings and saying, oh, Troy's obviously going to win. They're playing a 4-win team. This is a foregone conclusion. But if you look a little deeper and you realize these things and the stat Zach just told you, I don't know. These are the things that get weird when things happen. But even if that does happen, Troy will still have the chance to win 20 games because they'll be in the tournament for sure. It's just where would they be even with the loss? So not completely devastating. I think it would be devastating to the people who think Troy's going to end up on top. But again, they'll still have a shot to get right back to where they were last year by taking the tournament. I think they're built for it from the inside out. I think they have a well-rounded team. They've had some disappointing games. Do you have a favorite, Zach, going into the tournament? I know obviously you want Coastal to win, but if you don't take Coastal, you got somebody else you think like could come out on top?
If the bracket is like how we have it, I do honestly think that lines up well for Coastal. I do like those matchups, but if I'd pick someone else, probably a South Alabama. Just that funky zone they play. It's hard for teams to prepare for, especially on 1 day preparation, and then they're going to have the rest. And then they obviously have a guy, Chase Harris, who can go crazy at any point. So, like I said, I like Coastal's draw if this is how it were to happen, because I do think they beat Texas State, obviously, and then I think they match up well with Troy. But if I had to pick someone else, South Al.
Dang, it's not going to be very exciting for the viewers and the listeners because I'm picking South Al too, if I don't pick Troy. But it's between those two as my top two choices. I think they're just the most well-rounded teams. They play well on the road, they play well at home. Obviously, again, every team in this league has had games drop that they shouldn't have and bad losses. But for the most part, both teams have some guys who can kind of take over a game and get them to where they need to be, and they just well-rounded overall. That's not to say that, again, like you said earlier, Zach, these teams are all still really close. So it's not like App and Marshall and Arkansas State and Coastal can't be those teams. But I think I'm putting my trust into a team like Troy or South Alabama just a little bit more. And if Arkansas State hadn't lost their coach, probably be putting a lot of trust in Arkansas State. But they also probably wouldn't be in this position, I guess, right?
Yeah, they'd probably be a little bit higher, I would assume.
Yeah. They had a mass exodus after he left too, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a completely new team.
Yeah.
And then he's doing really well at Southern Florida or South Florida.
Yeah. He didn't start off so hot though, right? Didn't he? He started off a little weak and then he turned it on a little bit, I think.
Yeah, but now they're playing like really good and look like a pretty good team that could cause some chaos in March.
Yeah, that does sound like a good possibility there. Any last news or notes you want to leave with the people before we get out of here? And, if you're watching or listening to this Friday morning or afternoon, enjoy the games tonight.
Yeah, like you said, it's gonna be chaos. I'll probably have one. I have two screens, my TV and my gaming monitor. So I'll have one with the Coastal game on, obviously, and then the other one I'll probably plug my computer in and put like all the other games on there. So it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna really feel like March. Starting tomorrow.
It's crazy, like you said. Like, this is, as much as Kara Ritchie said that she doesn't, think it's a good thing for the standings. It's not a good thing, right? We can agree on that. Like, it's not going to end up in a good seed because our best team isn't, a 1 or 2 loss team. But it is great for what you just said, for watching all these and they all matter, right? Like, that part is really cool. So yes, if you are able to make these games, there's going to be a lot of good ones out there to go see in person. If you're not, definitely be watching at home because there is a lot at stake and a lot of movement. And even as we're watching, we're not truly going to know where some of these teams end up, but we'll have a much better idea how many teams are involved in a possible 7-team tiebreaker. So that's all from us. Enjoy the tournament before the tournament, and we will see you guys to preview the Sunbelt tournament once all the craziness is figured out. We'll see you guys next time.
Sunbelt Syndicate.